Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. Today is the 16th episode of Season 2, Episode 30 of Gutsy Media Podcast, if you're going all the way back to the beginning. It's been just about a year. We've been going on this journey, and I'm having a blast, so thank you for all the support and downloads and such. If you want to do more and continue to support after the episode ends, all you have to do is like, subscribe, share, tell a friend, buy some merch, follow us on social media. That's Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Letterboxd. Also, don't forget to support who supports us. This episode is brought to you by Ridley's Gaming Realm. They have been a huge supporter of ours, and we can't be happier to have them as a partner. Check out Ridley's Gaming Realm on Facebook, where they set themselves apart by having an amazingly low scam rating for buying and selling any of your retro gaming needs. Check them out and make sure you tell them DFAT sent you. My guest today is Casey Bowker, owner and operator of Don't Forget a Towel Entertainment, and he has picked About Time, the 2013 British comedy starring Domhnall, Gleeson, and Rachel McAdams. So without further ado, on with the show. I saw that. I saw him post that. It's very nice of you.
He turns 40 this year, so
the big 4-0.
Oh, big.
Shout out to Chris Walk. What's making you use the mic and not your headphone mic?
So you have better audio quality.
Well, my fans appreciate that.
Yup. Hey, y'all, you all.
All y'all.
All y'all fans out there.
So thank you for joining me for season 2.
Woo! I couldn't believe you made it past season 1. So yeah, congratulations for having me on.
I did tweak a few things, so I'm excited to roll them out to you as we progress. The first one is we now have a mission statement, if you will. We have a purpose for the podcast.
Okay.
So I'm just going to roll it out to you first thing so that you can understand what we, meaning yourself and I, have set out to accomplish today. And that is determining if this was a good movie.
Okay. That's it?
That's it. That's the goal. We need to figure out if 2013's About Time was a good movie. So have you seen?
It's going to be every single every movie. This okay. So first of all, I have a couple questions before you get into all this.
As I knew you would.
Am I the first guest of season 2?
You are not.
Oh, okay. All right. So this could be episode 3. I could just get buried. Okay. Next question. What if you watch a bad movie?
Then
you know what I mean? Unequivocally, it's just it's like The Room, right? Or Sharknado or something. Like it's intentionally a bad movie. Does that change the mission statement?
So first off, you bite your tongue. Sharknado is a masterpiece.
Honestly, but I get the idea.
No, I mean it doesn't change the purpose. I mean, here's the thing. Ultimately, what makes a good movie is in the eye of the beholder. And I think we can both admit that what I aim to try to figure out is, as your love for a movie increases during the course of watching a movie, are you more likely to overlook certain things that you wouldn't otherwise overlook? And I honestly think this is probably the perfect movie to apply that to, because on the surface, this isn't a good movie. I mean, on the surface, there's flaws with it. There's unexplained loose ends. There's plot points that don't quite make sense. But are you able to overlook that because the value of the movie or the message of the movie or whatever you get out of the movie is stronger than it would be in an otherwise less pulled off movie. And I think that's what we aim to accomplish here, is to figure out, did they pull it off? Are we able to overlook the shortcomings and make this a good and rule this to be a good movie, or are the shortcomings just too short?
They're long comings.
Well, I mean, because we've had that conversation, right? You can pick any movie. I don't care what it is. You can pick any movie, and you can find issues with it, and you can pick it apart, and you can make it sound bad. But ultimately, we as the moviegoer choose to overlook some of that stuff sometimes for the sake of just enjoying what was put in front of us.
Okay. Yeah. I agree with those statements.
Great. So you picked 2000 About Time. Had you seen this movie prior to watching it for this episode?
Multiple times.
Really?
Yep.
So then I got to ask, why was this your movie?
Because I knew you hadn't seen it, and I was curious as to your thoughts, because season 1 of the show was a lot more action oriented in some ways. Not everything, Draft Day is not an action movie necessarily, but it has some action-y scenes. With the football, but
with the football,
it was a little bit more. And I don't like to be gender specific, to be quite honest with you, but it was a little bit more on a masculine side of things. So I wanted to present something that, maybe wouldn't, not all of the audience might have seen or even thought to have seen. Birdman doesn't have a gender necessarily, but you know what I mean? Like, I wanted to try something out of the box.
No, I completely agree. I am actually a huge romantic comedy fan. We call it a chick flick fan. I honestly like a good story, regardless of whether it be love focused or action focused. Time Traveler's Wife, which I'm sure we'll talk about numerous times during the episode, is one of my favorites. The Notebook is arguably one of the best dramatic romantic movies of all time. So I was actually very pleased that you picked a movie kind of up this genre, because, like you said, we don't get to talk about
another Rachel McAdams love story, because you named 2.
Exactly, involving time travel as well. Even The Notebook, they tend to jump forward in giant chunks. But so did you see it when it first came out, or was it sometime afterwards?
No, saw it right when it came out, and I subsequently watch it at least once a year since it's come out.
It is a great movie. It's got a great story. So briefly to touch on,
I guess that's it. We're done.
That's it. That was the end of the podcast. Did you enjoy yourself?
That was our mission statement. We're over. Because I don't hate it. You don't either.
Right, exactly. There you go. Done. So it's the director of the movie is, I'm going to butcher it, Richard Curtis, who also does Love Actually, Four Weddings and a Funeral, Pirate Radio. I'm assuming that seems like right up your genre.
That one's not a love story, but the other ones are, yeah.
Right. Well, he does.
He's a great writer.
Yeah, he did the screenplay for War Horse. He's done quite a few things. A lot of romantic comedies. Bridget Jones. I'm just going through his little thing here. Notting Hill. He was a writer on that. Tons of TV stuff. So this is obviously right out of his wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Mamma Mia, Here We Go Again, which is another interesting movie. Did you see the Mamma Mias?
I saw the first one. I didn't think that I should see the second one. But Yesterday, that came out last year, was simply brilliant. And that one was written by Richard Curtis and directed by Danny Boyle, who is one of my favorite directors ever. Danny Boyle, he did the Trainspotting movies. He did Slumdog, 127 Hours. Danny Boyle is just absolutely fantastic.
I will have to check that out. I didn't even hear of it yesterday.
Oh, yeah. You'd love it.
So this movie stars, as we said, Rachel McAdams, who is known for being the love interest. She
In
actually
a lot of
takes
movies.
in a lot of movies, specifically movies revolving around uh, time travel, time travel's wife. That was actually kind of one of the things that turned me off a little bit. Was of all the actresses to get when it comes to your love time travel movie, you kind of get one that's famous for being in another love time travel movie. So I felt, I guess originally it was supposed to be Zoe Deschanel, but she had to back out doing the scheduling conflicts or something last minute. So Rachel McAdams swoops in because I mean, I assume she's on standby for romantic comedies just to break out in production any given time.
Yeah.
She stars alongside Domhnall Gleeson.
Domhnall Gleeson.
There you go. Who's obviously famous for playing General Hux in the series, but also he's in Ex Machina. He was in The Reverend, and a couple other somewhat well-known roles in other movies. But I think Star Wars is his breakout role.
I'd argue it was this one, but honestly, and in the Harry Potter movies.
Yeah, the Harry Potter movies, but he's kind of a minor role in that.
He is, but that was the first time that most people had really known him. You know what I mean? And then after that, it seems like he just kind of kept getting more and more roles.
Right. And then obviously the two of them, the really only third main headliner in this movie is Bill Nye, not the Bill Nye you're thinking of. The Bill Nye from the Pirates of the Caribbean movie. Nighy. Is that his name?
Yeah.
Nighy? That's
Yeah.
Nye. Nighy. That's Nye.
He's British, man. They
need to spell things in proper English. So he plays Davy Jones in the Pirates of the Caribbean movie. He's also pretty well known for, I mean, 1,000 other roles. I mean, the guy's been in everything. He was in a lot of the Underworld movies where he plays like the main Dracula-esque vampire. He's also most recently in one of our favorite TV shows, Castlevania, where he plays Saint Germain.
That was a voices. Fun character. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's in Richard Curtis's movies too, like Love Actually, and Pirate Radio.
He's a really good actor. He does have a very distinct face, very distinct voice. And this has got to be one of the first roles that I've seen him in where he doesn't play some sort of supernatural-esque being or creature or something. He plays just a normal guy. Well, relatively speaking, I guess, because
I mean, it's arguably that time travel is supernatural, but yes.
So, Gleeson stars as Tim, who is in his early 20s, and shortly after a New Year's Eve party, is told by his father, Bill, that the men in their family can time travel. And ultimately, it's just getting into a dark spot, squeezing your fists together and thinking of the spot that you want to be, and you'll go back there. And then you'll continue to live out your life as if this is your first go around from that moment forward. And the father gives a brief explanation about, you can obviously use this to get money or to do all these things, but ultimately the men in our family have determined that most of that's kind of meaningless or otherwise leads to bad or poor life outcomes. Mm-hmm. And Tim decides to basically use it to get a girlfriend. Initially, he goes after Margot Robbie, who's in the movie as a family friend. They didn't really go into details as far as who she is. Is she like a friend of the sister?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kit Kat, or
right.
Whatever. Yeah.
So he's very close to his sister, whose nickname is Kit Kat. And Margot Robbie shows up as her friend, ends up staying with them for the summer. And Tim pulls a... Yeah, obviously Margot.
Could you imagine?
Oh my God. Forget about it. She's obviously famous for Suicide Squad, Harley Quinn, Wolf of Wall Street, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So interesting article I read today said that Gunn said that Margot Robbie is the best actor he's ever worked with, which I found.
After watching I, Tonya, I was like, damn, this girl can act.
Oh,
I
sure.
thought she was good, but she was great in that.
So he attempts to woo her, in your typical like he'll live out an episode with her or a scene with her, and then when she says, "Oh, you should have done this before, or you should have said this," or then he goes into a closet, backs up a day or so, and does it the right way. So he ultimately tries to woo her, but is unsuccessful, because women don't know what they want, men don't know what they want, and every time he goes to do what she says he should do, she winds up saying he shouldn't have done that. And he kind of considers this his first love and lost. He really liked her, and she ultimately leaves at the end of the summer, and they don't ever culminate the relationship. He moves to London, where he aspires to be a lawyer, and he runs into Rachel McAdams. The gentleman that he lives with in London is a family friend of his father, and I'm going to try to get the actor's name, although I'm sure you know it.
Tom Hollander.
He is hilarious in this movie. I really liked his character. He is the epitome of an asshole, but he does it for like comedic reasons. At least you kind of get that impression. He's not an asshole for asshole's sake, which I really like. I like those kind of characters.
Yeah, this guy, he's a pretty well-known British actor, but he has done like Pride and Prejudice, and he actually is in a couple of the Pirates movies with Bill Nighy. So I thought that was a nice little connection to the two of them as well. So yeah, no, he's a good actor.
Yeah, for sure. So he bumps into Rachel McAdams in a happenstance, and instantly is wooed by her. They exchange numbers. They seem to really like each other, but due to a situation with Tom and trying to help him out, Tim ends up having to go back and kind of redo the night that he met her, and unfortunately doesn't bump into her again. So now he's out to try to find her. All he's got is her name and the fact that she loves a certain model, and he's out to find her, and he eventually does. He finds her and proceeds to woo her, just like he attempted to woo Margot Robbie. But this time it works, and you see his life kind of play out over the course of the next 10 years, where they fall in love, ultimately get married, and attempt to start a family. I mean, who wouldn't with Rachel McAdams, right? She's one of my favorites. I think she's a really good actress. She's obviously nice to look at. She's one of those actresses or actors that seems really down to earth. Like I would like to hang out with her
and take her out
and woo her through time travel. It's apparently something she's into.
It seems to be the case.
So he finds out that over the course of this 10 years or so, that him and his sister have drifted apart slightly, and that she has started drinking pretty heavily and ends up getting into a car accident because of her intoxication. He attempts to go back in time to fix what initially causes her to become an alcoholic, which is she meets this guy at the New Year's Eve party that was in the beginning of the movie. Well, by doing that, he basically erases everything that has happened throughout his life. But either way, he's able to kind of keep that going. The downside is when he gets up to present day, his daughter, who he had just had with Rachel McAdams, is now a son. And anybody who has a child can, once that bond has been established, it's not the same when it's a different kid.
Anyone who's gone through this would agree with you.
Anybody who's had some time travel in their life. Yeah. So he goes back and he undoes that. He undoes the saving of his sister. And two things happen simultaneously. One, the sister still has the car accident. She survives, but he has this heart-to-heart with her and basically explains to her that she needs to fix her life. She ultimately decides to leave the boy that was causing the problems, and seems to carry on the rest of the movie healthy and successful. He also has another conversation with his father and explains to his father what happened. The father says, when it comes to redoing time, you can't always, a fraction of a second can mean a different sperm hitting the egg. So once you have kids, it's kind of the end all be all. You can't really go back prior to that. Otherwise, you risk not having the same child, which is something that the father alludes to. It's what caused him to stop going back, prior. Am I missing anything major right now?
No, I mean, like, no, that's the crux of the whole time travel conundrum in this movie.
Yeah. So the movie is 2 hours long, just about 2 hours and 3 minutes. And at this point, I think we're right about the hour 10 mark.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where the movie kind of takes a noticeable shift. And it goes from the romantic comedy, whereas it shifts from going from Tim and Rachel McAdams' character falling in love
Mary.
in their love story to you find out Tim's father has cancer, which presents this amazing connection between the two of them because obviously they both can time travel. So the conversation that he has with his father, which this is really for me the hook in the fish cheek of me watching this movie, because this is where the movie goes from just a really nice romantic comedy to like a very deep sentimental movie. He has this conversation with his father where he basically says, you knew this. You knew you had cancer because you're a time traveler. Obviously, you could have gone back, 10 years ago and told me or fixed it or whatever. And the father alludes, maybe it was the smoking when I was a child or before you guys were around or whatever. But ultimately, I couldn't fix it. And the son says, how long do you have? Because he knows, his father knows. And the father at first gives this kind of whimsical, oh, who knows? It could be months, it could be years, and blah, blah. And then he eventually says 2 weeks. I have 2 weeks. And he gives his son one of the greatest gifts a parent can give their child, but specifically a parent that can time travel. And he says, here are the 2 rules that you should obey when it comes to having a meaningful and happy life with
Mm-hmm.
these powers that our family has been gifted. Rule was, do you remember?
No. I mean, I know one of the rules. I don't know what both the rules are.
Well, the second one is obviously the big one, and that's the one that really gets you. First, with all the everyday tension, he tells Tim to live each day twice.
Yeah.
In order to truly be happy.
Yeah.
First, he has to live every day with the tensions and worries that come with normal life. And the movie shows him having what would appear to be a very typical day. He stops for a sandwich at some local market, has a brief interaction with the cashier, is late to a meeting. He is very tense at this outcome of a trial he's in. He successfully wins the trial and more or less goes home and goes to sleep. The father that says, then live the exact same day again. Don't change anything, but this time, knowing what the outcome is going to be, enjoy it. Enjoy the day. Look around. Take a second to breathe it all in and realize what life is. And the movie shows him living the same day again, but he takes notice of the cashier's smile and joyous personality. He takes notice of the glorious buildings he's running through on the way to this trial. He takes notice of his friend who's equally enjoying the winning of the trial as he is. And he ultimately has a great interaction with his wife at night that leads to a little, And it was just
Netflix.
Netflix and chill. Exactly. That's what they ended up doing. And it's just a great message of, stop and smell the roses. I mean, that's really the storyline in this movie is stop and smell the roses. The movie quickly wraps up from there. The father passes away. He travels back in time to talk to his dad. Shortly after the funeral, his wife decides that she wants to have another child, which means there's going to be that roadblock. He's not going to be able to go back and visit his father anymore. So he goes back in time and he visits his father one last time. They have this heartwarming moment where the father knows this is going to be the last time he can come back. Um, and as the movie wraps up, Tim in a voiceover basically says that, as time went on, he decided just to not do it anymore. He had no reason to travel back in time, and he learned to just enjoy life the first time through. Amazing story, amazing message. What are your thoughts when you're watching this?
Yeah, all that. I mean, honestly, yeah, it's one of the reasons why I do go back to it over and over again, because you're right. It starts off as a cute little romantic comedy, and I've got some notes on that. But when it turns, not to the dark side necessarily, but when it turns like more serious, it's like, oh, okay, like these are the heavier implications of time travel, and what does that mean, and how do you deal with it. So yeah, I think it's brilliant, utterly brilliant movie.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, the stuff I read about the movie said that the writers and the director aimed to make a movie that would have people appreciate life and just be happy,
Mhm.
And they wanted to add some fantasy element to it, which was obviously the time travel, but they didn't want to focus it on the time travel aspect. They didn't want the time travel aspect to be the center of it, which is why they went into a very basic time travel approach. I mean, there is no flashy lights. There's no machine he gets into. There's no, stepping on the butterfly and causing the typhoon. He goes
Yeah.
into a closet and clenches his fists, and that's it. Because they didn't want that to overpower those scenes and the overall message of the story.
Yeah, one thing I had written down is it's cool that they don't explain it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
That it's just like, oh, this is just this thing. It's kind of like Teen Wolf, where like Scott just turns into a werewolf, and his dad is like, I'm a werewolf too, and he's like, okay, you know what I mean?
It's
Like,
just a thing we
sure,
do.
this is a genetic thing. We can do this, and we don't need to know. So I thought that was really cool that way. I have a question. If you think about it, I understand that he stops at some point time traveling, and maybe he picks it up later in years. But if you go and you relive your same day, like at least over and over again, right? Are you the same age when you go back? Meaning, like say he's 38, and then like in 2 days he's gonna turn 40, or sorry, 39, and he turns 40 out, right? And then time's messing with me. He Does he stay 39 when he goes back, or like will he be like an old man going back to that time? And I understand why they don't explain it, but
Hey, come take a seat at the campfire. You're not the only one who joins. I've got friends that come over sometimes, too. We talk about a ton of interesting things from geek culture. Then we cover some conspiracies or philosophical thoughts or monsters, We talked about Bigfoot in one episode. It's a lot of fun, so come join me at the Campfire Chats, a DFAT entertainment podcast hosted on Spotify and other fine places you find podcasts.
Do you remember Conan on Nintendo? Oh, how about Earthworm Jim on 64? That was my jam. Do you wish you still had it? Or maybe you have it and you're looking to clean out your collection and make some extra cash. Luckily, either way, we have the answer for you. Ridley's Gaming Realm. It's a one-stop shop for great gaming discussion, as well as a place for retro buying, selling, and trading without all the fees and drama of the other selling sites. They pride themselves on having over a year of zero reported scams, and you can find them on Facebook. Just search Ridley's Gaming Realm. That's RIDLEYS. Or click on the link in the show description. and make sure you tell them DFAT sent you. Right. Yeah. So that's the thing. I have two comments to this. Number one, I think the answer to your question is you go back to that age.
Right. That makes sense.
Because he relived so many days and so many chunks of time that I think ultimately, you can't be 80 years old in your 20-year-old body and have people, not ask you questions as to why the hell you aged.
Right.
But that plays into the larger comment, like we had talked about earlier, is that they really don't mention, they don't explain any of this. They don't explain, why he can go back in time, why it's a family thing, why only the men in the family can do it, how they can do it, the age thing. They don't explain any of that. And I am a person that loves rules. I like rules in movies that are thoroughly explained and they stick to those rules. But this movie's message ultimately wipes all that out. The scene where the father is actually telling Tim about all of this is like 4.5 minutes. And I was actually watching it with my wife. And when they're having the scene, I remember turning to her and saying, this is ridiculous, because Tim's reaction to his father telling him at the age of 21, oh yeah, by the way, all of the men in our family can travel through time. You just have to go into a dark spot, clench your fists, and think of something, and you'll be there. And Tim's reaction isn't, are you loony? Like, do we have to call the psych ward to get you committed? His reaction is, let me go try this. And when I come back, you're going to feel pretty foolish.
That would be my reaction, though. If someone said you can time travel, immediately I go, okay, let's try this. What I wouldn't even... No, you don't question it.
You are out of your mind.
No.
If somebody told you... If the door burst open behind you, yep, and your wife's like, oh my God, I just discovered the secret to time travel,
we would go, let's try it. Absolutely. There would be no question in my mind that's the first thing that you would do. You're ridiculous. Why would you question it? What's the point? You need to prove it one way or another, so why go through the time of asking, oh, is this really real? There's only one way to figure it out. Do it. And if it doesn't work, then it's not right.
This is clearly going to be my ongoing April Fool's joke to you every year.
Mm-hmm.
Every year I'm just going to call you and tell you I figured it out.
Yeah, great.
So you said you had a couple... Why not, right? You said you had a couple notes about the romantic part of the movie. Let's talk about that first.
Okay, so I'm a huge Cure fan, in case you've never seen my t-shirt collection, and they use the Cure in a really good way. It's when he's at that, what is it, like a model exhibit, or it's like an art installation, and he's waiting there and waiting there and waiting there. Perfect use of the Cure. Loved it. And you don't usually see the Cure too often in movies, so I thought that was really good. I really like his friend Rory.
That's the dumb one, right?
Sure. Yeah.
I loved him. I thought he was hilarious.
He is in a British TV show called Lovesick. I highly, highly recommend. There's only like a couple, maybe 3 seasons or something like that on Netflix. But it's a really good show. And that's when I first saw him. And then another like little connective tissue is that the mom is also in Birdman. A little connective tissue to your first season.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Rory is played by Joshua McGreer.
I think it's McGuire.
Well, long-term listeners understand I can't pronounce a single name, so that's okay. Yeah, he's really funny.
Friends also know.
He's really funny. He plays Tim's kind of whimsical friend he meets in law school. Winds up partnering with him in a couple of the cases, and he just really nice guy, very easygoing. Kind of goes along with the ride, but he's portrayed as being more book smart than street smart, if you will. And he's got a couple funny scenes. As far as the Cure goes, I'm going to leave it up to you. You are by far the soundtrack guy for movies. If I'm ever on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and it's a soundtrack question, you're the person I'm calling. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't tell you a single soundtrack that I've owned from any movie. I'm really trying to think. Maybe Sweeney Todd. I think I owned that one at one point. Um,
Also a good movie. Another smaller person who's now actually a much bigger actress is Vanessa Kirby. She is in Hobbs and Shaw. She was in the latest Mission Impossible, and she'll be in the next one. And she's a star of that show, The Crown. She's one of the stars of that show, The Crown. So anyway, she again, it's just kind of one of those things where, especially if you watch a lot of British TV shows or British movies, is that you see like so many of the same people, and then all of a sudden they just like blow up, and you're like, oh my gosh, you're in everything.
Well, I assume Britain has like 5 actors total, and that's why they're in everything.
You know what's funny about that is like when you watch certain shows, you'll see these people and you won't realize they're British until you see them in an interview. Like I remember the first time I saw Christian Bale talk like a normal human, like, well, whatever. He still sounds like he swallows marbles when he talks, but I remember being like, what? This guy?
He's what, Australian or Scottish or something? Like he's not English.
I think he is.
And what's funny about this is the 3 main actors in this are not English either. Margot Robbie's Australian.
Yeah.
Gleeson is Irish, I believe, or Scottish.
Yeah.
And
Rachel McAdams is American.
right, exactly. Or she's Canadian actually, but yes.
Oh, gross.
Gross.
It's Canadian.
So the first time you saw it, the movie shifts from the romantic aspect to more of the enjoy life, true meaning of the movie. What did you think of that when you first saw it? Do you remember?
Yeah. I got sad, at that time I wasn't a parent. And I don't have that same type of relationship with my own father, so it didn't hit me in that sort of way. It was more, just from a storytelling, cinematography and all that kind of fun stuff standpoint where, that music's playing and they're on the beach and he's a kid and his dad is young. Okay, that answered my question from before. His dad was young, you know what I mean? And they're kind of reliving like one of his dad's favorite moments from their relationship together. And I just remember it being like this, even when like the sister gets into the car accident, it was a shift too, you know what I mean? From like the funny, fun stuff with like that one redheaded kid, Jay, who ends up being with her. But like that whole section was like really kind of emotional, and like even the uncle, you know what I mean? How he has kind of like, I don't know, like Asperger's or something.
I was going to bring that up because when the father tells the son about the time travel, he does mention that, some of the other men in their family have tried various things, as, get money, get fame or whatever, and it hasn't resulted positively for them. And the uncle does have a few different scenes where they kind of make a joke out of his horrible memory. Like he forgets people in the room, and you can't quite tell if he's kidding or if it's like something wrong with him. And I really thought that was part of the story. I thought at some point, especially when his father passed away, the uncle was going to kind of explain what happened to him or kind of give his backstory. It never comes. So maybe in a sequel, who knows?
Yeah. That's kind of funny. One other thing I forgot, like I was just kind of like looking through the IMDb, the kind of, facts about it. I forgot Rachel McAdams is in Midnight in Paris, which is also a time travel movie.
Jesus.
And she's Owen Wilson's like fiance in that. So
I mean, if we could only go back in time and forget about Owen Wilson.
Okay. Wow. Okay.
So the movie's budget about $12 million. It winds up a cumulative worldwide gross of $87 million. So it does really well. For all extent and purposes, it is a successful movie. I mean, I really liked it. I thought the shift was nice. The other thing is when the shift happens, it's noticeable. It's not really. I wouldn't say it's gradual. I mean, it happens over about a 10-minute period, specifically surrounding the sister's car accident and leading into the father's cancer diagnosis. But it doesn't feel abrupt, if that makes sense. It's not really gradual, but it doesn't feel abrupt. I mean, at no point was I like, whoa, where is this movie going? Out of left field. It kind of feels like you're following this character, Tim, and throughout life goes from romance to seriousness to comedy to whatever. So I don't know, what did you think about the actual shift in the movie?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't, you don't see it coming necessarily, but it doesn't at all take me out of the movie. In fact, it brings me more into the movie because I'm just not expecting it. And I think it's another reason why I can rewatch this movie so many times, because there's plenty of other romantic comedies, especially where it's kind of like, okay, that was cute, and I will never see this again as a cute movie. This is more like, okay, it starts out really cute, but then you got the time travel thing, you've got some A-class actors, and then you throw in like this, ooh, okay, like we should really be appreciating life, and oh, his dad is really caring. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you get in these heavier themes, and yeah, it sucks me in every time.
Anything else about the movie you want to talk about before we move into a couple segments I got?
Just if well, I would hope if anyone's listening, like they saw it, because otherwise we spoiled the crap out of it. But I'm interested to hear what other people think about this. I have not met anyone who's seen this movie who doesn't like it. I would actually really question that kind of person, like what kind of soul they have, or lack thereof, because it is so good. And I watch Love Actually every year at Christmas with my wife, and I did it before I met her. Like, I just think Richard Curtis is really just great, and this one goes up there again. It used to be Garden State for a long time. That was in my romantic comedy rotation where I would watch it every year, and I still do love Garden State. But this one, as soon as I saw it, I was like, "Oof, man, got that Cure song in there." But it's just great.
Yeah, I mean, just to go back real quick to Rachel McAdams, one of the points I wanted to make about her career. So this movie comes out in 2013. This is shortly after she stars in the Sherlock Holmes movies. Those were in 2011. She has The Vow. Then she has This About Time. And then she's in other stuff after this, but she's not really in anything noticeable until Doctor Strange in 2016. So she has like a 3-year gap where she doesn't really come out with any big blockbusters. And then even from Doctor Strange in 2016, she hasn't really been in anything. I mean, she was in Game Night, but that wasn't really huge. And she's rumored to be in Sherlock Holmes 3. But I mean, what happened with Rachel McAdams? Was it anything that you're aware of, or did she just kind of fade off?
Kids.
Yeah.
Yep.
A lot
Like
of actors do
at
that.
those times, you know what I mean? Like, I think she had a couple kids. And if not, she's the kind of actress where she does get a little bit typecast. But I've watched Mean Girls plenty of times. Like, she can play different characters. You know what I mean? And I think she is a strong and capable actress, and she's been in enough of these like huge movies where she's probably doing pretty well, and she's just like, hey, maybe I'm just gonna travel the world, like.
Yeah.
But I think she had kids.
Holy cow. Mean Girls comes out the same year as The Notebook. Holy cow. I would have put those movies like 5 years apart.
Yeah, she was young. Both of them, her and Gosling, were young at that time, man.
Yeah. Okay, so as you may remember from season 1, I did come up with 5 questions that I thought pertained to all movies.
Okay.
Well, you know our millennial society, things get condensed down, and we have to go to the abridged version. So I've squished, I've squished
So
those
you're
down.
appealing to the millennials who listen to this show. I
I mean, I
gotcha.
have to. I have to appeal to my audience and my people. Um,
Uh-huh.
so I now have 3 questions whose sole purpose are to help us answer the purpose of the podcast, which is, was this a good movie? So without further ado, we'll get
Yeah.
into the 3 questions. Question number 1. What was the message of the film? And do you agree with it?
Yes. Uh,
That was the answer to the first part. The message of the film was yes.
the message of the film is to live every day as if it's a great day. You know what I mean? Like really appreciate what life has to offer because it is precious. And this is a kind of movie which affirms it, and we don't always think about it. We think about our jobs and maybe stuff with our kids or our own health or our marriage, blah, all that other stuff. And sometimes we do not walk outside and say, "Holy shit, I'm alive!" And especially now, we're in a pandemic of all times. Maybe we're over it by the time this records. Who knows? But I feel we're probably gonna be in it anyway. Point is, take that time to be happy that you're spending more time with your kids, or you aren't traveling as much and therefore you get to see more people that you wouldn't normally see, and maybe you took some time to grow, etc. And you'd be a little bit more like Tim and not have to repeat those days. Just appreciate the ones that you're in.
Yeah, I mean, just to piggyback off of that, you're 100% right. I think it's easy to say the message is, live every day like it's your last or something like that. But in this movie, it's not. I mean, he can go back and kind of relive that anytime he wants. I think the message is more, you can get caught up in the whirlwind of what happens and be focusing on the major events and that thing happening at the end of the week, or that, thing you really want to do, or the promotion you're going after. But the message is, that's not really the important stuff. The important stuff is all the stuff that happens in between and all these little moments that we so often glance over. And those are the moments that you should really stop and enjoy and just appreciate. Just look around for a second and appreciate where you are. The second part of that is, do you agree with it? And I think it's kind of a foolish second part for this particular movie, because if you don't agree with it, I don't understand, what you're doing here.
Yeah, exactly. You know what? No.
No,
Life sucks and then you die.
only focus on the big stuff.
Exactly.
Question number 2, how did the movie leave you feeling? And do you think that was intentional?
Yeah, I mean, okay, you already quoted Richard Curtis from saying like they wanted to do something life affirming, and when you watch Yesterday, which you will probably soon, you'll also know it's another life affirming sort of thing. But in Love Actually is, this is just what he does, I guess, in most of his movies. But yeah, I felt that you do really have to take some time and think about the good stuff. So I felt that way after I watched the movie over and over. Yeah.
So when you rewatch the movie, is it out of a love for the movie, or is it out of, listen, some time has passed and I need that reformation again to do that?
No, I think it's just the love for the movie. Yeah, that's it.
Okay. And then my third question that I had to bring back for season 2 is, what is the most important sequence in the movie?
That one with the cure.
The museum scene, right?
That's hard to say. Well, the most important scene, sorry. The most important scene would be that scene with him and his dad. which is kind of, I won't say it's like a screw up necessarily, but it kind of negates a little thing. Like if they go back and the dad says like, okay, if we don't screw anything up, then we should be okay. Like if we keep it exactly the way it was. But if you said, hey, you can't go back before your kids are born because it can screw everything up, you already set that rule, according to what you said before, in motion, and therefore something should have screwed up. But I don't care. The sequence is beautiful. You got Tom Waits music, which I love. So yeah, it's a great scene, and it is, I won't say necessarily the crux of the movie, but it kind of sort of is too.
Yeah, I mean, very similar scene, kind of the same purposes. Is I like when he's going through the two items that his dad told him, as far as live the first day with the worries and fears and tension.
Oh yeah, that's
and then live the second day enjoying it. And what a just phenomenal shooting on behalf of the director there, with showing the same day. He doesn't make any major changes, but you do get that coffee shop scene where he's quick to grab the sandwich and leave. And then you get that coffee shop scene again where ultimately nothing is different, but you see the subtleties in his face as he's appreciating the happiness on somebody else, or appreciating that they won the case with his friend. And he's even got a couple scenes where he's like poking fun at somebody, behind their back, just to get a laugh out of somebody. So I just thought that paired so well with the point that the father was making as far as living every day twice.
That's probably the better scene. Yeah, you're right.
So one last, well, actually, you know what? We're going to go with answering the purpose first before we play our game. So with that being said, we got the answer to our 3 questions. We recapped the movie. We've talked extensively about it. But just to get it on record, was this a good movie?
Great movie.
Great movie. I agree. Again, this is one of those movies where I think if you dive too hard into it, how do they travel through time? Why is it only their family? Why is it only the guys? How are they able to go back at the end when he's a boy? If you dig too deep into it, you're going to get muddy, and the movie's not going to make sense, and you're going to lose the appreciation. So I think this is a great example of one of those movies where you just take it at face value and you say, yeah, this was a really good movie.
Did your wife like it?
She did. She did like it. She missed a little chunk in the middle because the youngsters were running around, but she did like it. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So without further ado, we did get some strong feedback from the fans that we had to bring back Guess That Tomato. So let's roll into that. So as you know, Guess That Tomato is where I challenge the guest to correctly identify the audience rating of your movie, 2013's About Time, on Rotten Tomatoes.
I suck at this game. Like real bad.
So the score goes 0 to 100. Let's hear your first guess.
Audience, right? It's not the critic score.
Correct. Audience score, 57,863 people have rated this movie, and they have settled on an average score of
82.
All right. And with that being said, I'm going to now give you the critic score, rated by 158 critics. The critics scored it a 68.
Bastards.
I'm also going to give you 3 movies that are within 2% of this movie's rating in order to help you or maybe hurt you. Who knows? Movie number 1, Captain Marvel, 2019's Marvel movie starring Brie Larson as Carol Danvers.
Yeah.
Movie number 2, Creed 2, 2018's sequel to a movie that was the sequel to a franchise.
Still continuing.
Michael B. Jordan. But that always kills. So Creed 2 is the sequel to Creed, which is the sequel to the entire Rocky franchise.
Yeah.
So what is a sequel to a sequel?
Inception,
exactly. I'm pretty sure that was the basis for the movie.
But I'm telling you right now, I love every single one of those movies except for Rocky 5.
What was it about Rocky 5? Was it when he went around the earth and turned back time?
Yeah, he beat the earth backwards.
And movie number 3, Sausage Party. Seth Rogen and James Franco's 2016 very adult animated movie about what would happen if groceries had a consciousness.
Everything was going real well, and then you throw in the Sausage Party.
So interesting tidbit about Sausage Party. Did you know that they actually have an alternate ending where the groceries go into the real world and kill all the humans and take over?
I didn't even know. I forgot that movie existed. Okay, so I said 82.
You said 82. Do you want to change your answer?
Yeah, I'm going to go 76.
76.
Yep.
And the correct answer is 81%.
Son of a banshee.
You were so close.
Should have just stayed.
So close. We have some critics saying some people reveal in the warm front of innocence, others will reach their own volatile. One negative critic said there's a lot of comic and fantasy potential here, but much of it gets squandered.
Whatever, dude. These critics don't even know themselves.
That's my favorite one. One critic said it's about time this movie ended.
That's my favorite. That's good. That is good.
Well, before we sign off, it is a firm belief of the owners of Don't Forget a Towel, yourself being one of them, that everybody geeks out on something. While it may not be movies and comic books, it might be time traveling and, watching your father die of cancer. So I got to ask, Casey, what is it that you are currently geeking out on?
Well, man, you gave me such good choices there.
It was a shift. It was a subtle shift there.
Evil shift. So currently I'm geeking out on Star Wars Squadrons, where I get to jump inside my own X-Wing and fly around and kill TIE fighters. And it is amazing, and I love it. And I love it even more when I play it in virtual reality.
What system are you playing on right now?
PS4, brah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Anything else, or is that the only your whole free time right there?
No, I mean the other thing is like we're watching Haunted House on Bly Manor and Lovecraft County and all that kind of stuff. Lovecraft Country.
That's right. So we're recording this in October, which is considerably sooner than it's going to be released. But you're big on watching the horror movies during the month of October.
Yeah, I watch horror movies all year round, so it's not like woo, but I specifically will only watch horror-related things in October. So anything that's not horror-related, I just wait until November hits. So people have been talking about Batman, Death in the Family, and I just won't watch it until next month.
I mean that could be horror-related.
Yeah.
So we do share a similar passion for a specific Halloween movie. Have you watched Trick or Treat yet?
I am currently wearing a Trick or Treat T-shirt.
What a great! I didn't even know that. What a great setup that was.
It's on the list, of course. I will watch it.
All right, then. Before I let you go, is there anything you want to plug?
Don't forget towel. Don't forget towel.com, the only place to travel geekly. If you are a fan of news, reviews, comic books, anything pop culture, that would be just a really good place to visit. You can also listen to sweet podcasts like this one, or the Towel Light Talk, which is our news podcast. And then if you guys are into comic books, you can check out our Etsy page and get your hands on some sweet swag.
Absolutely. Pursuit of Plastic, Hollowed, and Ferio. Phenomenal comic books. Love every one of them. Casey, thank you so much for being my guest. And enjoy the rest of your trick or treats.
Thanks.
You've got Gutsy Media Podcast. Leave a message about any movies you covered, and maybe we'll add it to the show. Thanks.
I'm a long-haul truck driver. And every week, I download your podcast because I think you're the fucking best. But guess what? You fucking let me down, you son of a bitch. You made me listen to About Time. You made me watch the movie About Time. And goddammit, I don't give a shit about that motherfucking movie. About Time? It's about time I turn that motherfucker off. It's a dumb movie. I got the ability to travel time, but my daddy says I shouldn't use it for personal gain. Fuck you, Dad. Fuck you, Dad. I'm rich, motherfucker. Think I'm worried about some average girl, some B girl? Rachel McAdams? Fuck her. I'm fucking movie stars, bro. I'm rich. I'm getting poontang. I'm making money. You think I'm driving an 18-wheeler? You think I work for Walmart? Fuck you. Fuck no. I'm rich. You wasted my fucking time. 2 hours and fucking 3 minutes of runtime. Fuck you. You lost a fucking listener, bro. Pick good movies. You bitch. Fuck you.